Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the fourth round of Coach Connect, the December edition, as we fly headlong into Christmas and holiday programs. Tonight, we have a very interesting topic on staying fit over summer, on holiday programming and off-season communication. First, obviously, we'd like to acknowledge the land on which the Academy is located, where athletes train and compete, as the traditional land of the Dharawal people. And we pay our respects to their elders past, present, and emerging. Again, just a reminder of all the resources, both from tonight's Coach Connect as well as previous Coach Connects and future Coach Connect sessions is available through the Academy's Coach Network Resources app. This app, brought to you by Cube Logistics or Cube Holdings, I think they are now, is well sought after by a lot of other regional academies and organisations starting to look at what we're doing and getting excited about what we're doing here in the southwest of Sydney. Jumping straight on, obviously, this is round 4. Our next session online, we look ahead into January, but we'll talk about that later. So tonight we welcome our head coach of our basketball program, who's had well over, I want to say 20 years, but it's more like 30 years experience coaching from grassroots through to semi-professional league basketball programs and under 20 national championships, which I'm sure he will happy to talk about and embellish as we go throughout the evening. To present tonight's topic on staying fit over summer, holiday programs and communications. So I'll hand over to Jeff Cooper.
Thanks, Steve, and welcome everyone. It's good to have different sports here, and I hope all the sports are going well. In particular, it'll be time to finish the year off, and before we know it, we'll be back into it in 2025. And that the topic tonight is mainly to look at for coaches on what they can do for their athletes to maintain their fitness and that over the holiday period. Now, I understand that, with the different sports, tonight's topic that I've put together is purely, to a degree, is all basketball related, because that's basically all I'm associated with. But hopefully there could be stuff that's shown on here that you can take away and make some alterations and utilize with your athletes in your programs. And that because one of the things we find is that over the holiday period, a lot of the athletes don't do a lot, and then when they come back to start the next part of their season, they're lacking fitness and there's a bit of a struggle on that, getting them up to scratch before your main competition starts again. That it's also it's a way of maintaining contact with the athletes, and that seeking their feedback on the program and communicating with them, and that to understand, to make sure that they know what they're how they're going and that as well. I'm not technological minded, so if you hear me say next, that's Steve's indication to go to the next page. Okay, so the holidays for the academy are December 18th, or school holidays are December 18th to January 31st. So there's no school, no sport, no accountability. Naturally, there's travel on for holidays. There's lack of venues because a lot of the venues, like basketball stadiums, will close down for the first, say, 2 to 3 weeks of the New Year period, and so there's no access for athletes to go, and also it depends on the availability of the athlete themselves, because all the years I've been doing this with the basketball programs, we have athletes who go overseas on holidays and that, so they say, oh, well, I can't do anything because I'm overseas. Well, to a degree you can, but you understand that, yeah, if they can't do it, well, so be it. Next. So what are we looking to do? My aim is with the basketball athletes, I look to provide a home program, shooting program for them to work on. I also look to provide them with a running program, and with the help of Aaron from what is it, Steve?
FitClinic.
FitClinic at Preston. I asked Aaron if he could put together a strength and conditioning program for the basketball athletes. But again, approaching Aaron, he'll have one of his people put together a program, depending on what sport it is and that, because the thing that I look to emphasize is that with the strength and conditioning is that it's sport specific, and that like for the basketball on Saturday, we ran our first of 12 strength and conditioning sessions on Saturday morning from 8 o'clock till 9 o'clock Saturday morning, and that. So, by contacting, I wrote to Aaron and said, look, this is what I'm looking for. I'm doing a presentation tonight. He got one of these people to put together a program, which we'll show you through the presentation. But again, he can align them to the specific sport that you're involved with. Now, there's also a communication feedback. So the athletes, when they do the shooting program, they make a note of what their scores are, and then they're also asked to put in a comment about how they feel they went. Did they do well? Did they only think it was fair and that? So, and then as a coaches, we can then provide them feedback on what we think and that. So for we provide a shooting program. How often are we looking for them to do it? Probably 2 to 3 times a week. How long to do it? Generally only for about an hour. So they're looking at only 2 to 3 hours out of a 5-day week to do it. They can do the shooting program if they want to do they do the running program and strength and conditioning. That could be 3 hours possibly in a day. So if they do that twice a week, that's 6 hours out of the week that they've put into it. They've still got plenty of free time to do what they want to do. Because time management does come into a lot of this stuff and that. But a lot of from the basketball side of things, a lot of the rep programs don't do anything during the school holidays and that. So we're looking at record sheets for them to send in, which will show you a copy of an example of what the basketball provide back to us and that. And the thing we've got to look at is the results are going to vary and that. 1 week they may have a good session of results. The next week the results drop, and then the next week they're up again. So there's going to be variations. The thing we're hoping is that, like in any program, is that if their results are looking to go up, that means they're getting a good result from what they're doing. Because I always say, for all the basketball athlete, you only get out of it what you put into it. And with these programs, if the athletes have done the program or not when they come back and that. So, they should be looking to do better each time, but it won't always happen. But the other emphasis is stay positive. Don't get downhearted if the results drop down and that, because the next week they could be up again. Next, Steve, thanks. Okay, so what we've done, we've set up an example here of an online basketball program and that. So what we do, Steve done this, and I appreciate his assistance on this. It goes through, there's 5 drills that we look to get the basketball program to compete, and that each week. So they're looking at making 50 shots in each drill. So that shoot 50 shots. So that's 250 shots they're looking to put up each session. And what they then do is they put their name, the date they did it, and then if we scroll down, I think, can we, Steve?
No. So
No, we can't. Okay.
this one.
So it describes what it is, and then on this sheet here they record what they achieve for each of the shooting programs, and then over here they make a comment. How do you feel your performance was today? And as you can say, some will say okay, some will say good, some will say, well, one says bad. 19 out of 50. Well, there's certainly room for improvement, because where they shoot those particular shots from in the basketball program are only just outside the keyway, which is on average about probably a 40 to 60, maybe 70% finishing area, and that. So that's what they should be looking to achieve, and that. But again, as I said, if they don't, well, don't get disheartened. Just say, right, well, what have I got to work on to improve? And through discussions with the coach, well, then hopefully we can address that. But and we get them to send that in, say, every fortnight. That way, then we can have a discussion with them on it, just to let them know, what they may have to do to work on the next week when they do it. That. Next. Strength and conditioning. As I said, I spoke to Aaron. Again, how often? 2 to 3 times a week. How much time? 1 hour, maybe sometimes longer, just depending on what they look to do. Again, record their results, send into the coaches for discussion. Now, as I said, I've obtained a strength and conditioning program from Aaron's business, and I said, now, I'd like to have it as a basketball specific program, and what you see on this program, again, could be similarly used for, say, like, for example, with netball. That, but again, it's up to each coach to probably approach Aaron and that and say, well, this is our sport. What do you recommend? And his people will put together a program that they consider as thing. Because as we said to the boys on Saturday at the strength and conditioning program, don't just go into a gym and start lifting weights to see how heavy you can lift, because that's not going to help you out at all. You've got to be doing strength and conditioning that's applicable to your sport and the areas that you want to work on. And this is an example of one of our players, of what their thoughts were when they did the session at the beginning of this year. And as I say, they found that doing sprint training and all that, it certainly is, it helped them out in that. Because again, I also have a running program, which I'll show you in the presentation as well. And again, it's when they come back and that, if they have or haven't been doing it. And that, because yes, on the result sheets and that, yes, they can write stuff in, but by we're hoping that the athletes are honest and fill out the details honestly and that, and don't just write a figure in for the sake of writing something in. And there are some that unfortunately just don't do it and that. And so that just shows that their commitment is not fulfilling what the academy are looking for. Next. Yep. So this is the strength and conditioning program that FitClinic put through for the basketball program. And that is just, and as you can see, there's all the various exercises, and they give you clear explanation of how to do it, and you can write down results for it. So yeah, and there's all the varying exercises that they've recommended, and that. And again, it may be applicable to your sports, it may not. But again, it's just a matter of having discussions with Aaron and or emailing him, and they'll arrange one to send out to you. Yeah. Yeah. So there's quite a bit in the program and that. And it's a matter of, again, the athletes putting in the effort to do it. So yeah, and you're hoping when they come back that you can see results, even though it's only a short time. But if they do it on a weekly basis, they've got to be better than what they were prior to doing the program. Next. Yeah, so again, that was this is what Aaron put through. Basketball New South Wales, under their state performance program, also have various access to information that you can get, but they probably, in a lot of their stuff, they don't go as in depth as what we do at the academy with a lot of our stuff and that. But they do have arrangements with their athletes to do gym work, etc., and that thing as well. So as I say, because when you start to get up in the pathways of, say, Basketball New South Wales, and it'd be the same gym with netball, there's a lot more expected of what you have to put in if you want to achieve your pathway goal of making, say, a state team or a representative team or whatever. And Dan, with your sport, you probably have similar types of pathways as well.
Yeah, look, for us, we're in a bit of a development stage with our sport as a whole. So we have this type of thing from 4 or 5 years ago, and they're just starting to redevelop it now. So not a lot readily available, but there's enough out there in the open that we've certainly got something to draw from. But yeah, it's starting to. They're in the middle of a big restructure at the moment, which has its challenges. But hopefully, in the next sort of 2 to 3 years, we should have a nice pathway set out.
Oh, good. Next. Okay, so here are 3 examples of a running program. Now, I've used that shooting program, and I've used these running programs for 20 years now, and the running program is 3 different actual programs, and so it starts off with a program, then program B gets them to do a bit more in what they do, and then program C increases again as they achieve. And that, so if they feel that they can go to the next program, by all means, and that, the repetitions just get more as they go on. So yeah. And again, they record their results and stuff like that to be able to give us feedback. Again, we look at it and then we can discuss with them if we feel that, maybe they need to ease up on certain parts of it and concentrate on other areas in it. So yeah. Next. Yeah, so the home and strength and conditioning programs, again, provided by your strength and conditioning and they're our 5 partners that we're in sponsorship with the academies. I've only been to the FitClinic one, and as I said, I found Aaron to be very, very good, and he's very detailed in what it's about. And the boys actually paid attention. A couple of them did a few things that they shouldn't have, and he jumped on them straight away to say, hey, boys, if you're going to be lifting weights, we don't want you mucking around or someone else coming in and, doing something to you which could cause injury, because it's he was very good like that. And so, as I say, I found him very helpful and very informative. So, yeah. But, if there's any of those partners that you may have done previous stuff with, by all means, look to utilise their information and knowledge, because it's only there to benefit the athletes. And that. Next. Communication. So, as I say, we're asking for the athletes to give us fortnightly feedback, discuss the results, see what they think. If there's areas we think they need to work on, well, we can discuss that with them and that. And at the end of it, provide them overall feedback and get their thoughts on whether they thought, what they thought of it, and that, because it's got to be a two-way communication, and that it's not a matter of the coaches saying, you must do this, you must do that. If the athlete has got some feedback on the program, happy to discuss that with them and say, right, okay, what do you think? Give us your thoughts, and that, because they're the ones doing it, and that, so they're the ones that really, they know whether it's successful or unsuccessful. And that. Next. So what do we want from the athletes? Well, the first thing we want is honesty. Do the programs. There will be reasons that they can't do it, and that, but if they miss it for some reason, they've got to let us know, and that. And if they report honestly, the results will show if they don't do it. And that, through my through the basketball program, last session we had the 5-on-5 and the 3-on-3 together. I made them do a little 10-minute run, and that starts off with 10 push-ups at one end of the court. They sprint the other end of the court. They do 10 sit-ups. Then they run 2 complete laps on the outside of the court. And that's one set. And what they do, they run that. I normally run it for 15 minutes, but I only ran it for 10 minutes the other weekend. And I say to them at the end of it, okay, how many sets do you complete? 3 of them completed 10 sets, which was 1 a minute. The worst result was 5 in that time. And that, as I said, I normally run that for 15 minutes and that. Then when they come back, I run the same fitness run again. And you can tell if they've worked on the programs or not. And that, because you should see an improvement in their results, and that. And it's always handy to have a garbage bin around the area, because there's been cases where a few of them have had to use it. That, because, vomit's coming, here we go. So yeah, but again, it's, and as I say to them, through whatever they do, whether it's in basketball training, if it's these programs, give it your best effort, and that, do the best you can. If you're injured, do what you can, but if you're unable to do it, well, again, record it accordingly and let us know. And that, as I say, because I've always emphasised to any teams I've coached and that's being state teams for 14 years as a head or assistant coach, and that, representative at Penrith for 30 years now, local comp and that. But as an athlete, you'll only get out of it what you put into it. And if you're not prepared to put in, well, the results are going to show accordingly and that. But yeah, so as I say, the main thing is honesty and effort and that. And there's always, as I say, there's always reasons why they can or can't do it. And that. But if you can't, make a note and keep the coaches informed and that, rather than just not saying anything or writing anything down and that. So yeah. Next. So that's it. As I say, if there's any questions, feel free to ask. All good? Yep.
Sorry, do you do any testing beforehand?
Well, not really. And that, but that's something that can be incorporated and that, but see,
No, you said you
see a lot of the shooting programs, we do a lot of the stuff that's involved in the shooting program. We do that as warm up at training and that, and, you know, I just get the athletes to say, right, let's make as a, you know, more so not as an individual, let's make so many baskets as a group and that. So yeah.
I guess
so no, I don't do any testing. You know, but again, that's something that certainly could be incorporated and that with it. But again, see these strength and conditioning sessions they're doing with Aaron at FitClinic and that, that's something that, you know, they get to do and that. So by the end of it, well, again, you're hoping that you'll see results achieved out of that, because we did that at the beginning of this year and they had 12 sessions to attend. So yeah.
Okay.
I guess, Jim, just to answer that on the academy-wide perspective, is it does vary sport to sport. In that, obviously, you know, sports like netball and BMX through their service providers will test. Depending on where the programs are at the time of year when we have them, a lot of programs are looking at testing when they come back in January, February, because they'll run through to August, September, whereas basketball is a unique sport that will finish up around March, April. So they're in a shorter time frame. So their focus has been on S&C education straight into it, and then this wonderful school holiday block right in the middle of their program, wherever a lot of the other programs like BMX officially starts this Friday. So they're going straight into holidays to start their program. So they're not necessarily testing straight off the bat, but they'll come back into things like concussion testing, baseline FMS testing through their conditioning provider early next year. So whilst in this space before holidays and pre-holidays, we haven't really done a lot of that baseline testing, and this is more about giving them a program to do over the holidays so they're fit. Yeah, we'll look to test 2 or 3 times as an academy if they get back into the new year. So yeah, I think Dan, you had something there as well.
Yeah, I was just going to say, coming from one of those sports, I'm in BMX racing, with probably that little bit different perspective with our season running differently to how basketball does.
Yeah.
So I think for sports that maybe aren't in season as much, getting your goals for the program, like your off-season program, or your holiday program, are quite important. Yep. So you'll have different type of athletes that need different type of support through their holiday period. I know for us, some of us, we have really, really fit athletes. We know that we won't have to worry about their fitness over the period, but they may be lacking in their skill-based department. And when we're programming for them, we'll be looking more in how we can develop those skills over the period of time, which is going to vary very differently to some of those athletes that are coming in that have got super great skills. You know, they spend every other moment on their bike riding around and doing all that type of stuff, to where we can then try and develop their speed and their strength. So I think just having the goals of the program set out early for each athlete. For us, we're a pretty small sport, so it's quite easy to keep, you know, our finger on the pulse of each athlete. I think it is helpful if, again, you're in a smaller sport or you have the opportunity to get some sort of testing metrics for your athletes that you can cross compare with when they come back to training in the new year. As Jeff was saying before, even something as simple as that sprint test, if they've been through their program, you'll be able to see whether there's an improvement, whether they've maintained, whether they've dropped off. I know for us, it's a little bit hard to grab any sort of metrics without really specific testing. But depending on the sport, depending on the fitness level of like the group of athletes, I think that's a pretty handy one, that if you can get something before you break up for the holiday period. And then I think the other one just to keep in mind as well is what these athletes already do for training. I know for our guys, because we're a fairly individual sport, even though we get them for the team-based component as much as we can of the year, they all have their own individual coaches, or they're part of other high-performance teams and that type of thing, which all have their own expectations of them. And the last thing that we want to do, our season runs January through November, so it's quite a long year. The last thing we want to do is flog them in that off season as well if they've already got another coach with the same sort of intention. So we just make sure that, again, we try and keep the finger on the pulse of all those guys of what they're already doing with their other coaches. And as Jim alluded to earlier with the Basketball New South Wales, you want to supplement or be the vitamin to those athletes. We don't want to, overdo them in this period as well. But I think that's all I sort of had to add from that other side of the fence.
Yeah, because see, with the basketball program, the representative basketball program for Basketball New South Wales this year will be starting mid-February. And for some teams, depending on going to national championships and that, they don't finish till September.
Yeah.
A lot of our basketball athletes are representative players for the likes of Camden Valley, Wollondilly, Macarthur and Liverpool, or Bankstown Bruins. What this strength and conditioning program does, but some of the associations don't understand, is that we're actually helping their athletes benefit from the program to be ready for the representative season. And
yeah, that's right.
And that's, as I say, that's something that we try to emphasise, that we're here to help with the development of your athletes once they're back under the association's representative guidance.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest challenge for all the different sports across this level of the academy is getting the point across to those squads or associations above us that we're here to supplement and to help them on the pathway. We're not trying to steal their athletes from them.
Exactly right. Yep. Yeah, I totally agree. I won't comment any further on that. I might get into trouble. But no, it is, and it's very disheartening actually. And that, particularly when you hear some of the comments from the associations and that, and but anyway, as I say, and that's what we try to emphasise to the athletes. We're here to help you develop to become better basketball players, to then help your association representative program get better. So yeah, what's it like with netball, Gin?
It is changing. I think the academy programs are improving so much that the various associations can see it as a value add. And so they're actually looking to see into that academy space what is happening, how they're developing their players, what's the education process, and then trying then to filter that down within that representative space and that development space. So it's definitely changed. It never used to be like that. It used to be quite a similar sort of thing, taking our players, conflict of information. There was, it was an us and them mentality, but it's definitely changing now. And I know, from my Magic perspective, when we're talking about Southwest Sydney and all the associations fielding into that, that's why I feel it's really important that I connect with these, with this program. So then we can make sure that we understand what's required of the athletes when the young ones, when they go off, because our young program is under 23s, but we do have a large majority of 16, 17 year olds in that program. So we need to understand what their time frame, their school, and how we can actually work together to make sure that we're not breaking these athletes as they get or burning them out, with so many programs. It should all sort of mesh nicely together, but that's a work in progress.
Yeah. Were you on the interview panel with me for the netball head coach's job?
No.
Oh, that was the lady from Netball New South Wales, was it, Steve?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say,
yeah.
Aku was a good pickup
Mm.
for the netball program. So, yeah.
Yes. Yes, Aku's doing some Prem League with in the under 23 space. I think she's with Sutherland.
Yeah.
Yeah, we clash trying to pick the same girls. I'm involved with the basketball program at Sutherland, funny enough, in the under 23 space. So we've already had those conversations about how we can beg, borrow, and steal from each other, and we're not going to share. And I think we live the same way. So
it's really hard. I've had a lot of athletes that are netball, basketball torn between the two, and Opal Bird is a classic example. Grace White's another one that I've been working with since she came out of Tumut as well. And both of them have been exposed to both sports along the way, and they've just got to, find their way. But it's hard because our similars are very similar. Our representative seasons are very similar as well. Our playing pool is only so small. So it's always a bit of a challenge. So that it's hard because once upon a time they used to be able to do both, but I think as they get older it just becomes much, much harder.
Yeah, because I know at Manly, Paula Martin and Dave Greenberg actually go out to the netball competitions and look to grab athletes to play, which Opal is from that association. Yeah. She's currently playing for Bendigo now in the WNBL. But yeah, they were renowned for going out to the netball competitions and grabbing hold of athletes to say, hey, come over to basketball. Because what we do at Penrith in our local comp, we contact the netball and say, right, what time do you play your games? And then we put our games on in the morning if netball's on in the afternoon, so that the athletes can actually do both sports. So yeah.
Oh, and that's the way it should be. We should be all be able to work together. So the athlete can still do both until they're a little bit older and
then they can decide.
Then they can decide. Some as Opal was a bit of a late bloomer from she was so tall. But just trying to get her movement, where I think the netball in those early days helped her basketball career.
Very much so, yeah.
Yeah.
No, when some of them come over, you can go, she's a netballer. And that, and again, again, that's where, like with our coup, we're looking at probably doing a bit of cross sport together to work for both programs. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it's
anyway. Hello, Carlia.
Hi.
What sport are you with, Carlia?
Well, I'm part of the Netball umpire program, but I'm a part of the tour program, so I'm learning to be like a mentor.
Oh, okay. Oh, very good.
Yeah.
One of our up and coming fantastic young umpires who's and it is a credit to Carlia, too good to be in our umpiring program because she's achieved there's a level B, Carlia, already.
Yeah, I got it last year.
Yeah, which is basically we're told is too good to be in our umpiring program. So it's put a hand up to come back and train to be an apprentice coach in that space and fit into the talented officials, umpires and referees program that we have officially started. where we look at
excellent.
assisting athletes, you know, moving across to become coaches in their own right. So yeah, very excited to have Carlia as the first in that program and developing her the coaching side of it now, not just the umpiring and athlete side. So yeah, very
Very
excited.
good.
So, I think yeah, going back and when we're looking at holiday programming and strength and conditioning programs, it will vary from sport to sport, depending on, you know, again, representative schedules where programs are in the academy space as well as their individuals. And certainly one thing we've seen since COVID, like pre-COVID, regional academies we're definitely the leaders in strength and conditioning provision, and we're probably the only ones providing strength and conditioning outside of going to a gym. But post-COVID has provided associations the opportunity, I guess, to connect in with what their athletes are doing and in their programs. And again, as we see, there's lots of academies popping up, or so-called academies popping up, to teach skill and development space. And what we're finding now is through COVID, a lot of associations put their resources into the connection with athletes through coming up with new drills, skills, and strength and conditioning programs, realizing that it is an important aspect of an athlete's development. And I think Jen alluded to, you know, now I don't want to say overload, because there's still that debate about load management and what overload actually is. But certainly piling on a lot more of opportunities for athletes to complete during school holidays. So I think where we as an academy have that opportunity to stay relevant within our local associations is there are still a lot of local associations, or more so parents and families, that either can't afford time-wise or resource poor in that space, that we can provide quality education and strength and conditioning programming, and not just as Jeff said, it's not a case of go to the gym and get fit. It's these are the things that you need to work on. This is why you need to work on them. So again, in that holiday space, it's maintaining that connection. It's probably what we're about. So athletes feel that they aren't left alone during the next 6 weeks. And for some sports like BMX, am I right, Dan? It's basically turning around saying, have a rest, you know, stay off your bike for 2 weeks. I know in my sport, we told our group last week, we've got one more training session. We don't want to see you for a month, and don't touch a basketball, because all you've done for 12 months is play and give it a rest, because our season starts in February and we go hard to September. And our goal, if we're looking at, and I'm sure Jean, you'll agree, you're looking at the grand final weekend and saying that's when our season finishes, this is when it starts, come back ready to go and be prepared and hit the ground running in that space. So that's where we're at in the academy environment and coming into the school holidays. You're on mute, Jeff.
Yeah, sorry, just to expand on that, with our basketball program at Penrith, if the kids finish in August, or September, we say to them, go away and do something different. Don't get straight back into it, because you've got to have a break. And that, whereas unfortunately over the last couple of years, a lot of associations, as soon as the rep season's over, within 2 weeks they're running rep trials for the next year. And you go, no, you've got to give the kids a break. Because as Steve said, you end up, they burn themselves out. And then you go, oh, well, we've just lost that athlete now for probably, for good or for a few years, because they just want to have a break. And that, so it's, that's important to make sure that we don't burn them out. And that, so they've got to get away and have a break. And that's what we say to them. Go and find another sport, or just do something, but stay away from basketball. And that, so yeah. But anyway, look, thank you for your coming on tonight. I hope that the presentations helped a bit. As I say, and it's just a matter of making it adaptable to your particular sports, and that, for the strength and conditioning and all that type of thing. And that, because again, it's, if the athletes are in a good fitness position, a lot of the times you're not going to end up with as many injuries and that which occur particularly thing, and you find that the athlete's not up to fitness standard and that. So as I said, I hope it's helped, and good luck with everything ahead.
Excellent. Thanks, Jeff. So just to close out this evening, obviously one of the key foundations in our Coach Connect is partnering with the athletes, the parents and the coaches on their journey and helping them along the way and providing the opportunities. So things like the home strength conditioning programs and even just communication. So just having a look at some of the opportunities that we do have running in that fitness space. And I know a few squads have undertaken this. Again, this picture was not of last weekend. Last weekend was quite overcast and wet and rainy down at Bulli Beach. But again, we're looking at, we're left with 2 sessions left this year down at Bulli Beach. And I believe the 14th of December, Netball has made that a mandatory session for the Netball and Netball umpire squad. And the 21st of December, basketball's made that a mandatory session. So again, these are optional sessions for academy athletes, and squads have decided to make 1 or 2 compulsory depending on their plans for the year. And of course, coming back in January, we'll have 4 sessions at the Green Hills Sand Dunes. And that itself is quite an interesting opportunity. Quite often out at Green Hills, we're running into, especially that time of year, running into NRL clubs, NRLW clubs, NBL1 basketball programs getting ready, and occasionally the Swifts or the Giants are out there running the hill as well. It's very popular. And fortunately, there's a lot of sand to go around at Green Hills, which is always good. Also, if you do have the desire to put up a sport-specific resource on the athlete resource page, at the top of this page, there's also a great communication connection check-in that coaches might like to start using with their squads just to gain some wellbeing data week to week, and something they can use over the Christmas break. So do check out the athlete resource page and see what you'd like to use. But obviously, we can drop in here the sport-specific resources. So basketball, for the example there, that's the direct access to the 3x3 and basketball programs, home shooting program that Jeff went through this evening, although we'll have physical copies of that and the links to that sent out with this presentation after this evening. Again, if anyone wants to put a program up and needs a bit of help formatting a form that can then be filled out online and emailed back through, we can quite easily do that through Smartsheet. Probably takes us about half a day to put that together and test it, but we're more than happy to do that, and then we drop it straight into the resource page there. Again, a reminder, coaches, you do have your own network resource app, so Linktree SWAS Coach. And again, the session feedback forms that most of you are submitting week to week, which has been fantastic. It's helping shape our decision making on programs moving forward. And then obviously the big one there, the Coach Connect presentations, where tonight's information will go up probably Wednesday by the time we finalize all that, as well as we'll email that out. Again, looking ahead, we do have a bit going on, but we're back online on Zoom on January 13th, where we're looking at resetting and refreshing for the year ahead. We haven't quite locked down the presenter for that one yet, so stay tuned. It could be yours truly, given that it's in the middle of a school holiday period, but we'll basically be coming back in that session and making sure that ourselves as coach and support staff are mentally reset and ready for the year ahead, because 2025, I know in representative sport, but certainly in the academy space, is looking to be an absolutely incredibly big one and an exciting year. There's a couple of exciting announcements coming up over the next few weeks and in the upcoming newsletters. And then ahead, looking at February 10th, we start to look at representative scheduling and seasoning for our athletes and start to discuss load management considerations and competing schedules to make sure we are across all of our athletes' time and effort that they put into it. And again, 2 important face-to-face sessions coming up. Obviously, this Friday evening following the BMX hockey and volleyball inductions. Yes, BMX hockey and volleyball coaches, you will be able to be at the Coach Connect immediately following your athlete induction. We'll give the athletes an hour to talk with a guest presenter, and we're just going to have a meet and greet. We're going to discuss mentorship and networking for probably 15 to 20 minutes, and then an opportunity for coaches to get amongst it, get to meet each other, find out who's who in the zoo, and build some quality connections in other sports. So we'll introduce members of the coach technical and advisory group at that session, and hopefully link and connect coaches, because again, that's what it's all about, resource sharing and information sharing. And then the big one, Sunday, 9th of February next year, really excited. It will be our first Coach Connect conference that we are hosting at the Southwest Sydney Academy of Sport. It'll be at West Leagues Club in Campbelltown. It's a full-day event, and it will include coaches from Western Sydney Academy of Sport, Illawarra Academy of Sport, and we're opening it up to the Southwest Sydney Community Sporting clubs and associations, inviting them to send their coach and support staff along to that. Just a secret heads up, we do have Cade Klemke locked in for that, and very close to securing the services of former Brisbane Lion premiership winning player Sean Hart to come along to that one, as well as a couple of others, depending on where they sit as far as playoffs in their various sports at that time of year or lead in. So an exciting conference, day conference, and that will be on coaching for long-term success, where we'll look to deep dive into the 3-dimensional course that we provide here, and provide some practical workshops on strategies to, again, develop your athletes for not success, or not just immediate success, but long-term success throughout their careers, as well as also look at coach development, success planning. Again, a bit of an extension on the last session held by Van on the Coach Connect in that respect. And we are always, we are Southwest Sydney. So again, thank you for joining us this evening. Appreciate your time on a Monday night. And if there are any more questions, please feel free to fire away. We'll stay online for a few minutes. Apart from that, thank you for your time.
Thank you, and see some of you probably Friday night.
Thanks so much. I appreciate you having me along.
Pleasure.
Absolutely appreciate it anytime. Thanks, Virginia.
Okay, see you.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Coops.
Bye.
Thanks, Sam.
Have a nice
Bye.
night.